get underway. Okay, good. And we'll go, I'll end a few minutes early. I know some people have to go right at the top of the hour, so I'll be respectful of that. And I ask everybody, could you put on your mute so we don't get feedback? But feel free to unmute if you have a question and just ask away. So awesome. Okay. And if you have a problem with hearing me or seeing the screen share when I start it, just let me know. All right. So we're going to start just a little breathing exercise. Breathe breath in and out. Just kind of let go. So I've got the timer. We're going to end on time. So this is just a free hour. Just try to let go of everything. Again, be comfortable. If you need a pencil and paper, it's the time to grab it. We're going to be aware of where we're sitting, the chair we're sitting on, where our arms are, where our paper is, our elbow supported if we need that, our shoulders. Breathe in again. We're just gonna soak it in, and let it right back out again. Just notice your body, how it changes when you breathe in and then back out again. You can feel that in your body, sometimes in the chest, sometimes in the belly. Sometimes you just feel the air going in and out of your nose. This is your free time to just relax.
Computer audio. Okay. Okay, we'll just switch to a different microphone.
I'm gonna mute you, Shelby. Good.
It just disappeared everything, but now I'm back. I don't know what happened.
Okay. I think you're back. Okay, good. Can you mute, Anita? Okay. All right, cool. All right, so now we're paying attention to our breathing. We're paying attention to our position. Now we're going to pick up our pencils. And again, we're going to start to feel the pressure of the pencil. We're going to start to see the angle that we're holding the pencil and just become aware of it. If we're comfortable with the pencil, if we use it a lot, yeah, we're going to put our attention on our attention and we're going to watch ourselves as we come down. We're going to just start making a few marks. It's just our warm up. We just start making some marks on the paper. And hi, Sharon.
Honey, happy Passover.
Thank you. Can you mute just to keep down the feedback?
Sure. Sorry about that.
That's
sorry,
okay.
I'm late.
All right, that's my cousin Sharon. Got a full house here already. It's amazing. Okay. Yeah, so we're making marks. We're just making marks. All that chatter going on in the background, we're aware of that, but it's not stopping us. We're still making marks. Okay, tonight I'm going to talk and introduce a little bit about what some people call drawing, which I call realistic drawing, or sometimes I call rendering. And too many times when we say drawing, what comes to mind is drawing a picture of something so that it looks like that thing, which is definitely a great practice and a skillful practice and something that's well worth studying, but is only, as I hope you'll see over the course of all this, just a very tiny part of drawing and what drawing can bring, but definitely widely practiced. And as far as social convention goes, it's, yeah, people like to see pictures of things. People are comfortable with pictures of things. And also there's a great satisfaction in drawing stuff. But there's also a lot of criticism that comes in, especially self-criticism. If something doesn't look like it doesn't look like it. And this is often the story I hear many times. I hear the story that people draw and love to draw in kindergarten and maybe first grade, and they like to color and they like to do crafts. And then it comes to a time when they start to get some judgment and they decide that they aren't very good at it, something like that. Now, why we think that we should be excellent at something having never really practiced or been taught it, I don't know, because we wouldn't expect to be able to sit down to the piano, as Jenny and I sometimes discuss, and just play Chopin or Beethoven right away without having studied it. But somehow we feel like we should be able to pick up a pencil and make something look just like something that we see, and we get mad if we don't. So I want to just first off, just try to help us let that go and dissuade everyone from thinking that that's what we expect. And having said that, I'm going to give you some tricks and pointers, but it's kind of like if we were going to try out for a professional sports team, we'd probably like to first get in shape and do some exercise and build up our muscles. So we're going to build up our drawing muscles and our mindfulness muscles sort of at the same time in a kind of cross training. But first we'll do a little benchmark. I want to do a little benchmark. So let me start the broadcast here, see if I can get this to work. Okay. So there we go. So now I can't, in this version, I can only see a few people without scrolling a lot. So I am going to scroll down, but I'm screen sharing, and you should see a picture of a chair there. So if you don't see the picture of the chair, you could let me know. But pretty much, if people would just nod if they see it, and I can see a few people. Okay, yeah, so we're seeing that. Okay, good. So I have my iPad here to work with. Okay, so this is a drawing that nobody will ever see unless you want them to. And it's just in the privacy of work. This is kind of like when you first start out at the gym and you do all your repetition, you write down everything, and then 6 months later you compare to that and you see how. So anyway, while I'm talking, I want you to just do a quick minute or two little rendering here. Just try to draw this chair, and if fear came into your heart just then, just notice that, because it does happen. If you saw it and you went, oh, because drawing the chair is actually sometimes a complicated exercise. There's a lot going on in the chair. There's perspective, and there's things in front of each other, and there's strange lighting on it, and there's flat surfaces. Anyway, but do your best. It could be a stick figure. That's okay. It's just wherever you are, enjoy doing it, but try to get the shape as best you can. When we talk about realistic drawing, now all different kinds of drawing relate to all different kinds of meditation, and the way they get paired up is kind of interesting to me. And when I talk about realistic drawing, what I think about is concentration meditation. And that's kind of meditation where you have an object of your meditation. You pick an object. So a lot of times concentration meditation will start, like we started at the beginning, by focusing on the breath. So an instruction would be to notice the feeling of the air as it passes through your nostrils, or the feeling of air as it fills up your belly. That's the object of your meditation, your breath. And when we worked last week, I had people call attention to the pencil point. So watching the pencil point is a kind of concentration meditation. But in drawing, in realistic drawing, which is kind of what we're doing now, the object of our meditation is this chair in this case, or whatever you choose to draw. And as we concentrate on it, and this is also a similar instruction in concentration meditation of the breath and other things, that we start to notice little minute details and little subtleties that if we were to glance at something we wouldn't see or wouldn't feel. So the way that the breath feels as you breathe in and breathe out, you start to discern more and more little divisions in that, little feelings in your body as it passes in and out. And so when you begin to draw an object, the same thing can happen, is that you begin to notice all sorts of little details and relationships and such in the object that you're focusing on. And in meditation, you say, like, you concentrate on it until the label of it, until the idea of the breath goes away, and it becomes a whole bunch of other things, like the way the stomach feels, the way the chest feels. And the same thing can happen in concentrating very deeply on an object that you're drawing. When you first see it, your mind labels it and you say chair, and you see chair and you start to draw it as a chair. And then as you get into it, you start to see the turn of the wood and the texture of the wood and maybe the shadow and that sort of thing. And it sort of breaks down into a whole bunch of different things. And so the thingness of it kind of goes away. The label of it kind of goes away. Okay. So I hope that wasn't too painful for people. You can continue. I'm going to take the picture away though. Okay. Good. There we go. Okay. So that was kind of, keep that to yourself, and maybe you'll look at it later and you'll see what you were thinking about it. And now we're going to do a few little exercises. And these, again, these are like cross training. These are like our sit-ups and our push-ups, and just the kind of the way that we're going to begin to learn and think about things. Okay, so basic shapes. And I should also say that if you're comfortable drawing, and if you have experience in drawing, then the way to approach this is to notice what's coming up as you're drawing it. Like you're thinking to yourself, I know how to do this, or how well can I do this, or how different can I, this kind of thing. So you can turn the thoughts a little more. In concentration meditation, we're really going to be looking at the point of the pencil. But if you have experience in this, you can also do a little what we call insight practice, which is you can look more at what you're thinking about it. So there's a couple of levels to operate. Anyway, so first off is the circle family. Whoop, gotta grab my pencil. Okay, there's the circle family. So this is what I call like follow drawing. So I'll do some shapes and you guys just kind of draw along. You don't have to draw exactly the shape I'm drawing at this point. I will, and some of them be exact, but we're basically gonna draw circles, ovals, like that, and kind of blobby shapes. So these are like curvy shapes. A little bit of a warm up, but also an introduction to this family of shapes. And some of them, if you want, you can fill in. You can make them bigger, you can make them inside themselves. So we're just drawing curvy shapes. This is the dot and the circle family. In the book of Kandinsky called Point and Line to Plane, he begins here with the point. Then the next is the line. There we go. So that's a straight line. This is the family of straight lines. So we're just going to draw straight lines. And people will tell me, I can't even draw a straight line. So of course, I always tell them the curvy lines are more interesting, but also you can draw anything if you just do it a few times. So, 10 times practice, something like that would be very good. The point is to get a little muscle memory here in these shapes so that when we start to draw and when you draw with a little more speed, when you want to put down a line, your muscles know, your hand knows when you point to something on the page with your pencil where it's going to start. And when you move your hand, you're comfortable moving it. So you know the pressure, the speed, where to start and stop. And you kind of already have an idea of what's going to be. So eventually you don't have to think about all the details of it. So you build a muscle memory. So anyway, I'm just kind of doodling along there with some straight lines. Also, don't forget the dashed line. That's a straight line too. The dashed line is a good one. And then there's also, I did some of them there, but there's the line made of multiple lines. Okay, I'm gonna clear my thing here. And do one other one, clear that. That seems to be working okay. All right, and then we have the curve lines. That includes like hook lines. And the spiral is a curved line. There's a spiral. And I hope it's fun. I hope you're kind of enjoying that. It's kind of like very pressure-free doodling, just getting a feel. If you're noticing how it feels in your hand, how it feels in your shoulder, how it
So it looks like we lost John Simon. He dropped out. I'm Jenny. I'm friends with him. I just thought I would add this one thing about realistic drawing while we wait for John to come back, which is that one of the art teachers that I had told me once that we already have the picture that we're looking at. Like if we wanted it to be exactly like the photograph, that we already have that photo. And to me, that's one of the things that's helped me a huge amount. That and also to realize that a lot of the art that I love the most is not really realistic at all. In fact, photorealistic is like sort of my least favorite category of art. And I think when people think about rendering, they have this idea about really making it look like a photograph. But when I really look at photorealistic art, it's sort of like one of the last categories that I would feel like really drawn to. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing to think about.
Do you think John knows he's gone from us?
I'm texting him right now.
Okay.
I assume usually when Zoom, well, yeah, I think that he must know that he's gone.
Yeah, maybe we should all sign out and sign back. No?
Well, one strange thing, he should definitely be able to get back into the meeting. One thing that happened, I saw somebody else became the host. I'm not quite sure how that worked. Maybe it was the first person who joined after John.
Yeah. Okay.
My internet has been unstable.
Uh-huh.
So, and I understand that if I stop the video, it'll be better. So bye. I will be here. I just want
okay.
to go.
So he just texted he's restarting right now. So he'll be back in a minute.
Oh,
Wait, Anita, did I get to be the host suddenly?
I think it said, was it Shelby's name came up?
Okay. Weird.
I don't know. I think it was like,
Okay.
or someone, I just saw someone.
Once he comes back in, if he needs to, he can make himself the host again.
You can switch it back.
He should know how to do that.
It'll just take him a second to get back. Oh, he's back. Good.
Okay. Sorry. That was the dreaded internet outage. Okay. I will say that we're getting an upgrade to our internet since everybody's home using it, so it should be getting better. Okay, has the screen sharing come on?
Yes.
Okay, good. There we are. All right, so angled lines. Did you hear angled lines? That was the next one. After curved lines.
No,
Angled
I didn't.
line.
I think it cut
Okay.
out before that.
Okay, so we did curvy lines and we did angle lines. Okay, so I won't spend any more time on angle lines, but the next exercise we're going to do is following, duplicating. So I'll draw a shape and you duplicate the shape. So there's like that. So, and this is just a practice in copying and also seeing. What becomes very important in realistic drawing is seeing the relationship between things, like the angles between these two lines, and proportions. So if we have a short and a long, short this way, long, and the relationship between the two. And this is a good way to practice that. And if you've drawn for a while, what I ask you to notice is it's moving when the hang on a sec. I'm going to draw a couple more. Okay, so if you've drawn for a while, start to notice how you're thinking, how your mind is working when you're judging the proportion, when you're judging the shape, and how that feels different than when you're naming it. For instance, if you're seeing this and you're naming it a square, how's the thinking you're doing different when you're drawing the square, when you're trying to decide how long each side is? So give a little attention to that as you're going. Okay. So hopefully you've duplicated some of these shapes that I've been sort of doodling on here. Now we want to go one step further. Okay, now duplicate this line. Again, if you can, sort of noticing how you're noticing how you're measuring. And now we're going to duplicate the mirror of it. So I'll draw that one out there. So for every line I draw the line and then draw the mirror. And see what that feels like. And see if doing the mirror feels any different, or if you have to tell yourself a little different what's going on or how to do it. There was a trend in the 1970s, I think it was called doodles. And the one at the bottom was a very popular one that they said that's a bear climbing a tree. It's really hard to do jokes when it's on mute because you don't really see if anybody's. You get that one with the bears grabbed around the tree? Okay. There was one more like that. Let's do that. This isn't a mirror one. This is just a copy one. Okay. There we go. So just practicing copying shapes. One of the beauties of the lesson of copying shapes is that we don't think about the chair. We don't think about the apple. We don't think if it looks like the tree. We leave all of the stuff aside that we use to judge the realistic drawing, and we just focus on the contour, the outline, the relationships, the ratios. That's the beginning practice. Does anybody know that one, the lower right one? That's another droodle. Okay, no one wants to say. That one is a ship arriving too late to save a drowning witch. Okay, they're really bad, but I'm gonna go with it. Okay, that's my kids call it dad humor, so I have an excuse. Okay, we did the mirror shapes. Okay, yeah, so I want to actually say something about that kind of reversal of form, because that becomes something. Oops, I'm hearing someone unmuted. Oh, that's better. Okay, good. Maybe they popped in to answer. I want to show, where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay. So, you probably all seen this. It's actually known as Rubin's Vase, based on a Danish psychologist named Edgar Rubin, who wrote about and published it. And what you see, especially on the right, there's this kind of vibrating image between two faces looking at each other and this vase shape in the middle. And you can look at one time and just see the faces, and you can look at another time and just see the vase. And you can, if you practice, or maybe you can already, look at it and just see both. You can see the sort of vibration of the two. And when I ask you to work with the pencil and to focus on the pencil point, and then at the same time to be aware of, say, the noise in the room or what's surrounding us, this is this kind of dual awareness, this awareness on attention and awareness on awareness at the same time. The peripheral awareness is there and our attention is focused on the pencil. And this is when we keep our attention on one, say the vase, and then we flip it over to the faces, that's known as a figure ground reversal. Because in a drawing, for instance, the one on the left, the figure, as it's called, is the vase, the yellow vase, and the ground, which is the background, is the faces. And so when we flip the figure to the background, we see the faces. And when we flip from our attention focused on the pencil to the surrounding awareness, that's also a figure ground reversal, because what's in front of us, the objects that we see and the things that we concentrate on in daily life, constitute the figures in our life, the objects in our life. And when we become more attuned to the peripheral awareness, then we get this shift sometimes, this figure ground shift. And so we see it in drawing, and we see it in mindfulness practice as well. Okay, that's a little aside on the figure ground. Let me come back here and, okay. Now I want to do a few follow drawings, and these drawings are, we build up images slowly, and it will give you a little room for improvisation, but it's also to kind of help people who in the very beginning of rendering and don't think they can draw, see that the drawing isn't always the copying of something, or it doesn't always, we don't always know what it's going to be in the beginning. So let's do these. We start with the circle. Oop. There we go. We start with a circle. Okay. So I'm just asking everybody to sort of follow what I'm doing. And then we're going to make a circle around it. That's pretty easy. Oh, what happened to my circle? There we go, circle around it, okay. All right, and then we're gonna draw an arrow pointing at it like this. Okay, and then we're gonna connect the ends of the arrow to the ends of that line. And then from that point around like this. Whoops, okay. And this one, wow. Out pops a little bird. The interesting part is to watch and see at what point we stop seeing a circle and an arrow and we start seeing something else. This kind of just stalled moment when it sort of snaps into place. We can improvise on that a little bit. If we make the arrow go like that, split it, and his beak is open. So you can draw, of course. Okay, let's do a couple more, and hopefully you can focus again on as it develops what's happening. All right, so here we do a little oval. So again, simple shapes, little oval. And then a couple of little lines. And a curvy line at the bottom. And another oval. And a couple of little lines. They have a little angle to them. Connect again. There, and then two short little lines. This one's becoming more clear. We can add the spout, the handle maybe. Okay. Do drawing, but also just paying attention to that shift. When we go to improvisational drawing, you'll see that we start with just making marks and we begin to see and imagine what's arising in that. Okay, everybody get the teapot. Okay, let's do one more of the follow drawings. This one's a little more, we'll do a little more complicated, but you can stay with it. I think it'll be really good. So now we're going to start with a long rectangle. Oh wait, I want to go to a different page. Okay, here we go. All right, so follow drawing. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to start with a long rectangle. That's the rectangle shape. Okay. And then we're going to try to draw another rectangle. Sort of the distance we want to go to the right is just about the height of the rectangle we just drew, but a little shorter, but almost like we're drawing a big square box. Let's do it right here. There we go. So two long rectangles. Okay. And now we're going to go, let's say we're going to go to the middle of one of those rectangles and just slightly below, and we're going to draw a line across. We're going to make like an H. And it's going to be pretty straight, but maybe just slightly curved. There we go. It's almost like an unhappy H. Not too curvy, but a little bit. And we're going to do two of those lines like that. It's like a goalpost. Okay, so now we're going to go and we're going to make another little rectangle about 1/8 of the way along from the left goalpost and about half the height of it. Something like that. And we're going to do the same on the other side. Again, we're just noticing how we measure ratios and shapes, distances by estimating, which becomes a really important skill when we start to draw from objects, but we can just do it with simple shapes and distances. Okay, now we're going to go onto the left short rectangle that we just did, and we're going to go on the other side of the crossbar and down, yeah, about half the distance that we went. We're going to make a dot there. And we'll do the same over here, something like that. Simple two dots. And then we're going to start right at the edge of the crossbar, and we're going to connect that and connect that. That's pretty simple. That's just drawing a straight line. And then we're going to connect in between the two dots. And we're almost done. But this sort of looks like a smiling goalpost. Okay, now we're going to go back to the dot, and we're going to make another rectangle just slightly longer than the first one. And again on both sides. Okay. Now we draw a little wing here and a little one here. Two little lines there. Okay, now we connect this part and that part. And then we connect them in between with just a little upward hump. So that's easy too. Okay, 3 more lines, then we're done. We go here and here. And the last one is we connect those two with just ever so slight curve the other way, like that. Okay. And now, if everybody's got that in hand, I'm just going to select that, but you can do it on your paper, and we turn that upside down. That's a quick way to make that chair that we started with. All broken down into lines and shapes, not thinking that it's a chair, not thinking about perspective, none of that. This exercise of turning a picture upside down to make a breakdown of the sketch is a technique that is described in Betty Edwards' book called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. It's another connection here with mindfulness, is that when we see and label, we do it in one part of our brain. And that is one of the great things that gets in the way of drawing something, is knowing already what it looks like. Your mind telling you already what it looks like. And one of the ways you can get away from labeling and already understanding what it looks like is to put it in a different context. And one way is to turn it upside down. So in her book, she has a picture of Igor Stravinsky and a line drawing. And I knew what it was, and everyone who reads the book sees it and knows what it is. But when you turn it upside down and you just draw the shapes and lines, and then you turn it back, you go, my God, this is amazing. There's something in the way we perceive and the way that we filter what we see that gets in the way of realistic drawing. And I think that's the biggest block that has to be overcome. And in terms of how we think about what we're doing. The other big block that we have to overcome is just not to think about what we're doing and just focus on the way the pencil feels and what we see and the proportions and the ratios, and get engaged in the way that the object looks. We get concentrated on the way the object looks, and then those labels go away. Okay, let me, I'm gonna end the, and the broadcast. There we go. Okay, we end up 26 people. All right, cool. So that was more hands-on and more directed than usual. So I hope you liked that part of it. That was really the beginning. There's, I'm a real aficionado of YouTube videos about how to draw. I think that they're really interesting, how it's taught, and also the variety. And if you dive into that rabbit hole of looking at YouTube videos, hopefully I'll screen some and give you some lists of them, or just get the highlights of them. That's really great information. When what we consider now to be modern drawing was developed, let's say around the Renaissance, with perspective and shading and oil painting, that was the science, that was the highest technology of the day. And drawing, rendering drawing can be very technical exercise. And when you get into some of these videos and they're going through about the figure, anatomy, how to draw the face, how to draw buildings in perspective, it's become very technical. And so I was always surprised by that, because I always thought drawing was about the passion and about spontaneity and about inspiration, that sort of thing. Well, that's certainly included in art, and drawing is certainly included in art, but rendering can be brought down to measurement and very technical details about lighting. And I will do some of those things in the next couple of weeks and show you some of how that's done. But I just wanted to point out tonight the very basic fundamentals, and also some of the stops that we have in the way we think about it, and some of the ways we can get through and start practicing. Drawing well, rendering well, like anything else, takes time and practice, but simple exercises are a good way to start. Okay, so I have a few minutes, and I thought it was nice last week to have a few comments. So I don't know, Jenny, do you have something to throw in?
When we lost you, I just added just a couple things really quick about how like we already have the photo, like, you know, so not trying to make it look like that, and also paying attention to the kind of art that you love and that rarely it's photorealistic. So those were the two things that I said while you were gone.
Okay, that's cool.
I love the chair upside down. I kept thinking, what is this? And then finally I was like, oh, it's the chair. I mean, I also wanted it to be another animal, but the chair was amazing.
For me, that exercise in drawing from the right side of the brain, when you finally turn it over, even though you know what it is, and then that gestalt happens when your mind clicks in and you realize what you see. It taught me a real lesson that the way I was thinking about looking and drawing was not quite right. And one thing you typically see when you ask someone to draw, say you ask someone to draw a jar, and we're going to do ovals next week, but when you ask a beginning person to draw a jar, they'll draw the top as a circle because they know the top is a circle. When they look down on it, it's a circle. When in fact, when you just look at it, you'll see an oval. And that learning to see the difference between what you know and what you actually see is really the beginning spot. Okay, sorry.
I also feel like what you know, the chair, what it shows you is starting to pay attention to the shapes. I was going to say that you're actually seeing. And I feel like that's a way that you can help your mind let go of, I have this idea of the whole thing, and just like what you did there and what it shows is just to start to pay attention to the separate shapes inside of something that add together into the whole.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we're going to do what we call negative space drawing next week, a little bit as practice. So we'll look at the in-between shapes of things. It's often, if you find hard to render sections, the good way to do it is to look at the opposite, the negative space of the shape, the figure ground reversal of the shape. Okay, another comment, anyone else?
This isn't so much about the lesson tonight as listening to your talking about what's coming up. But I remember taking a course like this, or your course like this, a year or two ago. And in between two of the lessons, I sat out on the balcony and tried sketching a tree, tried sketching it exactly. And it turned out really well, I thought. And now they're building apartments behind us. And so that they've cut down some of those trees, and that tree is not there anymore. And I'm really glad that I have the drawing of it.
That's amazing. Yeah.
That's really beautiful, Bev. I love that.
Me too.
I also think, so in the drawing group, there's the Drawing Your Own Path group on Facebook, and then there's a smaller group on the MeWe app, and people post things kind of more frequently there. And one of the things I feel like I've seen since the beginning is when people have started following John's sort of introduction of just scribbling on a page and making marks, and that almost everyone in the group, after they've done that for a while, has started to draw here and there a few realistic things. And it's just amazing. So I also feel like there's like a confidence that comes just in drawing it all, and then trying to draw something. And also because our group is only like always supportive comments, like people are always excited. And so it's sort of like a positive feedback loop that happens. But I think the confidence just starts to come with practice. It, like back to what John said at the beginning, why anyone thinks they could sit down and just play Beethoven, like no one thinks that way, but somehow about drawing that comes up. But with practice, I really think confidence comes in. That just really helps with the realistic drawing too.
Okay, so if you want some, oh, Michelle.
Do you think drawing realistically is kind of a stealth mindfulness practice, or do you have to do it with the intention of it being mindful for it to have an effect that way?
That's a great question. Yeah, I don't think that you have to. No, and I do think that like anything you become absorbed in, right? It'll all happen. In fact, when I started, if you know this story, but I was trying to solve a computer science problem and was drawing every day to observe the rules of my mind. So I didn't have an idea of mindfulness or meditation or anything like that. I thought I was trying to make an expert system. And still, drawing every day opened my mind, basically. If you fall into the insights and you fall into the little awakenings that happen along the path, naturally, if you're, especially if you're not really thinking about it, if you're just making the drawings, and especially if you're enjoying it, if it's bringing you joy and you're really into it and it's fun, or you think you're getting somewhere. I mean, for me, I thought I was doing my job, so I was being productive. This was really work. So I had a great happiness that I was doing something that I loved, and I was making this thing, and there it went. All the little benefits of meditation started to kick in, and it became finally that I couldn't not do it. I had to draw every day. So I don't think you have to know anything about it to begin with, but if you follow that pencil and you follow the joy in that, you're gonna, it'll open up. I'm confident of that.
I also feel like one of the reasons that drawing is such a great mindfulness practice is because the way that your mind has so many reactions, maybe especially as you're trying to draw something realistic, it's really like the mindfulness practice at its heart is that, not about stopping the process that your mind is doing, but just learning to see it and allow it to go by. And so it's like learning to draw, and you just like allow that criticism and the commentary and the nonstop judgment to like come up, because it isn't like it's just coming during the drawing, it's happening all the time inside of our mind about everything. So you can practice just letting that whole thing go, which will actually benefit you everywhere.
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, it's the drawing is one thing, because we're often so judgmental about it, that makes it very easy to see what's going on all the time. It becomes easy to see that we're judging and criticizing. And even on one line, was it good or not? Did I make it straight or not? Think about when you were trying to copy and follow, how you were thinking, oh, it's right. Is this right? Am I doing it right? Okay, don't try to stop that, but just give it some space and notice that that's going on, and you'll start to see it open up in different places. All right, so this week, find a drawing online or in a book or whatever. Maybe a line drawing, doesn't have to be, although it's easier with the line drawing, but black and white. But if you just have something that you love, a picture that you love, yeah, turn it upside down, and just draw the shapes in there, and try not to think that you're drawing that thing, but try to find the shapes in there. If you want to post them on a Facebook page or a MeWe page, that would be really great. It'd be great to get some more of your stuff up there and get to see it. I want to welcome anybody new that came in from DC. Yeah, there we go. DC is represented. We had some new members come in, so I'm happy about that. That's the more people we can get in. And you feel free to tell anyone. Everybody's welcome. And let's see, we're going to drawing B. We're still drawing B in the evening at 9. So we're going to carry on here. That's still 11 a.m. till 12. Welcome to drop in or drop out anytime in that hour. That's silent drawing in the morning. That's available. All that's listed on the page you use to click in here. So I want to thank you all for being here tonight. And yeah, I'm continuing on. There's still lots of material, and I hope it helped. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you,
you. I
John.
really enjoyed it.
Thank you, John.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, John.
Happy Passover.
Thank you.
Good night.
Happy Passover.